Hey monsters, thanks for tuning in to Murder Murder News, the true crime cult for the latest breaking news, murdery memes, TV reviews, podcast recommendations, and all things spooky. Join our cult and you can have your own baby goat, plus all the true crime talk you can handle. I'm television's Aurora Katie.
And I'm Angelina. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and this is the Week in True Crime.
Murder, murder, news.
This week in True Crime, 3 men were charged with murder in connection with the disappearance of Jonathan Reynoso and Audrey Moran. Jonathan and Audrey were reported missing by Audrey's family on May 12, 2017. Audrey was last seen on May 10th after she visited her sister in Coachella, California around 8 p.m. Jonathan had gone to visit friends in Brayla, California that day, and Audrey left her sister's house to pick Jonathan up somewhere between Coachella and Imperial County. Audrey then sent her sister a photo of herself with Jonathan, though police believe the photo that was sent was an old photo of the two. The following day, Audrey's family called and texted her with no response. They were a very close family, so they started to worry that something wasn't right. They reported Audrey missing early on May 12th, and the police found Audrey's vehicle along the 10 in Beaumont, California, which was quite a ways north of the route Audrey would have taken to pick Jonathan up from his trip. The car had been abandoned, and their wallets and phones were not found in the car. The car also had plenty of gas and was in working condition. On Tuesday, police announced that they believe they had found the remains of Audrey and Jonathan, but are awaiting DNA test results. Jesus Ruiz Jr., Manuel Rios, and Abraham Fregoso have been charged with their murders, and they could face the death penalty.
17-year-old Brayla Stone was found murdered in a van that was parked on a walking trail in Sherwood, Arkansas. Brayla was a transgender woman from Little Rock and was one of 8 transgender people to be murdered in the past week in the U.S., all during what should have been a celebratory time for Pride Month. Police have not yet released the details of Brayla's murder, nor have they released the names of any suspects. Instagram user Tappin' Season posted a video with a pile of money with a caption stating $5,000. The Instagram user claims to have killed Brayla as a hit and that he was paid $5,000 to do so. There's no word from police yet as to whether or not the Instagram account is connected to Brayla's murder or whether it's just an incredibly insensitive hoax. On Monday, there was a candlelit vigil for Brayla in Little Rock, Arkansas. Brayla's death has gotten very little media attention, and what little coverage it has received has dead-named and misgendered her. If you know anything about what happened to Brayla, please contact Sherwood Police Department. Also, maybe just contact them and let them know that Black Lives Matter and to stay on this case.
This week, we, along with pretty much every other murderino on the planet, are watching I'll Be Gone in the Dark on HBO. If you're familiar with Michelle McNamara's book, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, this is a must-watch. Michelle McNamara is known as the web sleuth who tirelessly sought to find the identity of the Golden State Killer. Her work is really goals for any true crime fan, and her research included working with detectives like Paul Holes, who worked on the case, and combing through thousands of files the police collected on the victims of the Golden State Killer. The 6-part documentary takes a look at Michelle's all-encompassing interest into the case. The release of the show is very timely since the plea hearing for Joseph D'Angelo, also known as the Golden State Killer, was this past Monday.
How do you plead to this, sir?
Guilty.
Joseph D'Angelo pleaded guilty to the murder of 13 victims and admitted guilt to many of his rape victims, which the statute of limitations have expired for in California. Be sure to check out I'll Be Gone in the Dark each Sunday for the latest episode.
Did you get to watch the show yet, or any of the trial?
Yeah, I watched the show, but none of the trial.
Well, both are really good.
Yeah.
The trial is really interesting. My favorite part, which we posted a video of this on our Instagram, so we'll play here too, but was one of the survivors, one of the very first survivors of his sexual assault, got to sort of pin him in a corner when he was leaving the courthouse in his wheelchair, and she leans over the railing and says, "Rotten hell."
Right now?
Amazing.
And it's so satisfying. She's such a badass. It was just like the best part of my week this week has been seeing that video.
So cool.
Each week, we'll try to introduce you to a podcast that might be new for you. But this week, we have a murder news first. We want to introduce you to a true crime YouTuber, and that YouTuber is Angel ASMR. Let's take a look. We are so excited to have Angel with us from this week's favorite YouTube, Angel ASMR. Angel details a true crime story each week, all while whispering, a form of autonomous sensory meridian response. Angel, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
Hi, I'm doing really good. Thank you for having me.
I'm so excited. I really love your channel, and for me, ASMR was sort of a new concept that I just discovered recently. And I personally find it to be quite soothing. I don't even use it like before bedtime. I really just like somebody whispering and sort of how you have to tune in what they're saying and how like you feel. I think it's such a cool concept. So
yeah.
So
definitely different, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's very different. It's very cool. And I was wondering, how did you discover the concept of ASMR, and what inspired you to combine this with true crime stories?
Well, the way I found ASMR is the same way I think a lot of people did back when it was just becoming popular, and it was this chick just eating pickles, staring at the screen, doing nothing. And I thought it was super weird. And
I didn't know about that
play aspect.
Right.
Oh yeah. There's some weird alleys of ASMR, and I remember I would always laugh at it and think it was really funny. But you reach a point where you either then dive into it and you love ASMR forever, or it's not your thing. So I found ASMR through that weird realm of when it initially first started to come out. But when I found it, and it was first true crime related to me, it was a much different aspect. My fiance was, I think, probably trying to sleep, couldn't in the middle of the night, and I was dead asleep. And I woke up to the sound of someone whispering really creepily and saying things like, hacking up their dead bodies and blood everywhere, and I was like, the heck is going on like in my room? So once I actually listened to them from start to finish with my fiance, I was like, oh, this is actually really calming. And having that ASMR spin of, especially if you can't sleep or you're anxious and up all night, there's nothing better than kind of listening to soothing sounds but a gripping story to make it so you can like focus better. Your brain doesn't drift off. You're not, overanalyzing what's coming tomorrow.
Right.
And it's just a good way to, right? And it's a good way to kind of keep your mind focused and easily drift off, and also educational too.
Yeah, the concept works surprisingly well together. Like, I don't know that you would guess that having like murdery stories whispered to you would be soothing necessarily, but somehow it really is. Like, I really love your channel. It's so fascinating.
Oh, thank you.
And what is your true crime origin? What got you into true crime originally?
Well, I remember as a kid, do you remember those big TVs that you would watch with like the dials on the side and you have to click them to get them to go to the channel?
Absolutely.
Oh yeah, you know what I'm talking about. I had one of those in my room, and I remember the only thing I could ever watch to go to sleep was either Canada's Most Haunted or America's Most Wanted. So I kind of got it initiated there, where I was interested kind of in the whole concept. But over time, I mean, things just kind of happen, and there was definitely a few incidents in my life in high school where it was really impactful. Like a girl from a school close to ours was strangled to death by her boyfriend, who also is in that high school. And that it wasn't exactly someone I was very close with, but my friends were. So that magnitude is really, intense. And a couple of other kind of things happened where I was working at an airport at a restaurant, and the girl who was training me was murdered, and so was her daughter by her boyfriend. So once those things happened, it was just so crazy. But once those things happened, and it's something that I'd already found interesting, it was really obviously a dark time, but
right.
It really made it where I realized the importance of kind of realizing what's going on in the real world, not just watching TV and getting distracted by that, but kind of focusing on, those types of stories that are really happening out there. And yeah, that's kind of where I guess my interest came from.
Right. It's actually a reality for some people, and to come that close to it too, like even through a friend of a friend, I'm sure it just makes it feel like it's so much more of a possibility.
Yeah, it's and especially someone who, and I'm sure you kind of can relate to this, someone who talks about true crime all the time. It's very easy to, I don't know, it's not a regular thing, but once you talk about it enough, it's you almost need like a reminder that this is like real things that do happen, and and that was, you know exactly what I'm talking about, because you tell the stories and stuff, and having that happen also helps, so that when I do tell the stories, it's a good way to keep it in mind, right?
Right.
And
Well, Angel, you've covered some great cases on your show. I just recently watched the episode about the Hollywood Ripper. What's your favorite case that you've covered so far?
The Hollywood Ripper one was really creepy. I liked that one a lot, because that's kind of, well, I can't say liked. I enjoyed researching that one. It was very interesting. But that one specifically was intense to me because it has a lot of aspects of things that I'm already terrified of. I lived alone for a long time, and it was a man who would enter women's homes and murder them in their sleep. So that really did stick with me for a while and kind of keep me up. But I did enjoy researching the Rebecca Zahow story, because that is kind of more of a pharmaceutical tycoon whose son went missing, and suddenly his girlfriend committed suicide the following day. So I just find stories like that really show someone who has so much financial power and control can really create a narrative that isn't necessarily true, especially since she committed suicide by hanging with her hands and feet tied behind her back.
Not sure how that works.
Not sure how that works, no. But I did find researching that one, it's a creepy reality, that's for sure. But I found what was interesting about that story, and some of the stories that I tell, such as the Hollywood Ripper, is it shows a cooler side of people who have a lot of money and can do all these amazing things, but instead they choose the wrong path, and they can get away with it, which
make
is crazy
it all
to me,
go
right?
away. Like it's clear
so
that in her
easily.
case it wasn't a suicide, and like it's still a mystery to this day. Like we don't have a clear answer to how it actually happened, but I think it was probably the brother. I'm not sure what your theory is.
I agree. I think it was the brother, and I hate unsolved. I hate them. I have a love-hate thing with mysteries. I can find them very interesting. I like closure. I like knowing what's happening. I like knowing that justice was served. That's my favorite part of true crime. That's not the case for a lot of things, especially in this world, but that one really bothered me. But it was a favorite, I suppose.
Well, Angel, it's been such a pleasure having you today, and I want our viewers to get a taste of what your episode is like. So I was wondering if you could whisper where they can find you on social media for us.
Sure. I'm available at Angel ASMR on YouTube or angelica.joy on Instagram.
Don't forget to subscribe to Angel ASMR so you don't miss a single episode.
This week on MurderMurder.news, we interviewed monster maker Hannah Powers of Seize the Clay Studios, who makes the most gorgeous mini cauldrons, mugs, and incense holders. They sell out fast, so you might need to use magic to get your hands on one. We spoke with Hannah about her love of true crime and her inspiration to start her studio. Check out our interview with Hannah at MurderMurder.news.
We have also announced our July book selection for our True Crime Book Club. This month we'll be reading 7 Fallen Feathers, Racism, Death, and Hard Truths in a Northern City. In 1966, 12-year-old Channy Wenjack froze to death on a railroad track after running away from residential school. An inquest was called, and 4 recommendations were made to prevent another tragedy. None of those recommendations were applied. Award-winning journalist Tanya Talaga delves into the history of the small northern city that has come to manifest Canada's longest struggle with human rights violations against Indigenous communities. We'll be hosting a Zoom chat on July 26th to discuss the book, so check out the link below for the invite and all of the details.
We love reading your comments, so long as you're not an incel troll. And we wanted to thank Queen of My Curls for mentioning how sad it is that Crystal Kaiser's rapist was released, and that she had to protect herself in a system that wouldn't protect her.
On Instagram, Annette said she found us on accident, and she's so glad she did. We're so glad you found us too, and thanks for watching.
Thanks so much for tuning into This Week in True Crime with Murder Murder News. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button below, give us a thumbs up, and tell all of your true crime friends.
If you just can't get enough true crime, join our commune at MurderMurder.news for our Monster Book Club and cold case solving groups. And don't forget to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. See you next week.
Murder, murder.